finally got our hands on the Yamaha R9. Yo, welcome back to the channel. We got an exciting video today. We got the brand new 2025 Yamaha R9. Finally got our hands on it. We're going to take it for a real world test, see how it holds up on the road, or is this just a dedicated track bike? We'll find out. Put it through some of the twisty roads, some of the normal roads, test the handling, test everything out. If that's something you're interested in, stick around and let's go find out. We finally got our hands on the Yamaha R9. After all these years of the speculation of are they gonna release one, what's going on, we finally got our hands on one. I'm just gonna take it out for a first ride, give you my first impressions. This was gonna be the bike I was gonna buy if I didn't buy the R1, so I'm really keen to get on this thing and take it for a ride and just see what it's all about. We're gonna go through a bit of specs, the handling and ergonomics, and then I'll put it side by side the Yamaha R1 so you can see a comparison on size difference. And yeah, we'll see if this is the perfect street bike. So firstly, let's talk about ergonomics. How does this bike fit in with the leader like an R1, the R6 and the R7s? I would put the ergonomics in between an R7 and an R6. The clip-ons are quite low, but because the seat height on this is 832 millimeters, you're actually not leaning over a heap, and it's quite close to you, so you're not reaching forward a lot, so it doesn't feel like it's as aggressive as it is. So I would put it, if you sat on an R7 or an R6, I would put it in between. The clip-ons are quite wide as well, so they're quite comfy. My knees are nice and tight to the tank. Heels aren't quite that low. It's quite comfortable. Obviously if you're doing a long ride you will feel it, but it's not super aggressive. The tank's nice and spacious, so you can really, it feels like the tank is bigger than my R1, quite wider, but in a riding position it's not overly aggressive. The throttle's really smooth. The power comes on very linear, very predictable. And it just, there's so much power, so much power. 117 horsepower, 93 newton meters of torque, and I just find that's like the perfect sweet spot for the road. Perfect. You can have so much fun with it. It's not overkill. Just coming off the highway, the bike does feel very stable. It weighs 195 kilos with fuel, which is pretty impressive. It does feel very light. They didn't opt for the spin forged wheels like they did on the MT-09. Apparently when they were doing the testing, a lot of the testers were saying they felt the standard wheels, the aluminium wheels, gave a better feedback on the side of the tyre, so that's why they've gone with that rim. It still feels extremely light. It's got KYB fully adjustable forks. They've now got the Brembo style limber calipers on the R9, MT-09 and the R1, which is like amazing. We've been waiting for this for so long. It should have happened a lot earlier, but it's here now. So brakes have a lot of power. I'll test it further on once we ride a little bit more on the twisties and we do it back to back, and we'll see if there's any brake fade. But the brakes feel like they've got a lot of stopping power. You can disable the rear ABS in track mode, same as the MT-09. It's just that usable power, like I said before, 117 horsepower, 93 newton meters of torque, and that's just that sweet spot. I reckon from there to 150 is just the absolute sweet spot to have for the road. You can have a lot of fun. You've got that low to mid-range torque. The gearing's a little bit different on this. It's got taller gearings to your MT-09 for a bit of the top end. People argue that it's not got the most top end, but we're on the street. We're riding this bike on the street. We're not riding this on the track. The owner that has bought this is riding it on the street. So you want that power low end and the mid-range. That's where you're going to have the most fun, and that's where you're going to be spending the most time on one of these bikes on the street. And then this bike is coming out of corners, even like fourth gear, yeah, still pulling. The suspension's doing a really good job of handling all these bumps. That's why I kind of came out here. It is quite bumpy. I wanted to test the suspension and feel how the bike handles on the side of the tyre. Once we generate some heat. Yeah, that power coming out of those corners is what you want. Really nice. Third gear. Super smooth. The throttle delivery's super smooth. Middle of the corner, you can get back on that throttle nice, pick it up, and not have that jerky feeling. And we're in all the lowest power modes. So the highest. So track on 1, we got power 1, traction control 1, slide control 1, lift control 1, engine braking 1. So the least intervention, and the throttle on that power mode feels amazing. With the R1 it's very twitchy. With this you can definitely manage it. You got a 5-inch TSD display. You got a 6-axis IMU. You got all electronics you want. Displays, the only thing that I'm finding with the display, it could have been a touch higher, I think, when I'm looking down, but that's just something small. But man, this bike handle is amazing. We're going to go into a little bit more of like sweeping corners, see how the bike handles more on the side of the tyre. Yeah, that feels really nice on the side of the tire. The change of direction's really smooth and quite sharp. Yamaha do a really good job of making their bikes, even with the R1, getting it tipped in. That initial tip in, super, not aggressive, but it doesn't require a lot of effort to do. With other manufacturers, it can feel quite lazy to get into that tip in zone. So they've done a really good job with that. You've got cruise control as well. Man, it's just, you're getting a lot of bike for what you're paying for. If you're comparing it to a Ducati, Ducatis are a little bit more expensive. I believe this retails at 23,200. And a Ducati, I think a stock one, you're looking at 25. Don't quote me on that, I haven't test rode the Ducati or looked into the Ducati too much. And then the V2S is like another couple of grand on top of that. So you're really getting a really good bike for what you're paying for. 23,200. I believe the MT-09 without the fairings is like 21.5 maybe. So you're just paying the extra for the fairings really, which is basically what you do when you're paying for a sports bike. This is equipped with a full Akrapovic system. And he's done a couple of little mods. He's got a new windscreen WRS, tail tidy, EvoTech crash protections. But yeah, that throttle is so smooth. Yeah. Suspension feels really nice. Braking feels really good, plenty of brakes, plenty of stopping power. I'm really happy they've come out with this bike because it's just that in between of, it's not too slow and it's not overly powerful, where if you're on your L's or P's and you're jumping from an R7 or an R3 and you jump on one of these, you're not going to scare yourself that much. It's got the safety, the throttle's very smooth, so it's definitely a bike you could progress from, like an R3, a 650 CBR, an R7, and have a heap of fun and have a very serious bike. 117 horsepower, 93 newton meters of torque at 195 kilos is a very serious bike, but it seems more of like a controlled bike, where if you're jumping on a leader bike, it can be a very big jump from an R3. So it'd be interesting to see Yamaha's sales on this in the next year or so. I do know they had some manufacturing problems when they released this bike, so a lot of people's orders are on back order. It just so happens that my mate went into a shop and they had this on the floor ready to go, and he had a pre-order somewhere else and then ended up cancelling that to pick this one up, so he got it straight away. So that's how he's got it so quickly. But it'd be good once demos get out and then everyone's starting to test ride them and give their opinion. But I'm super impressed with how this bike handles, power delivery, the styling. I wasn't a big fan. Like, the couple of negatives I'll quickly go over is the indicators. I'm not sure what the idea was behind it. I think the more you ride it, you probably get used to it, but just jumping on the bike, the indicators are quite weird. And the rear tail, I'm not overly, I don't know, it doesn't, the aesthetic of the rear tail of the R9 is a little different to your R7, your R1, and the R6. I really like the tails of them. They kind of look like the Ducati, but yeah, they kind of did this weird looking thing. But the more you get used to looking at the bike, I didn't like it when I first saw photos of it, but the more I've seen it in person, it's starting to grow on me. Same with the MT-09. It was the same thing. I didn't like it at first, and then the more I saw it, and then when I owned the bike, I'm like, yeah, this is growing on me. So they're the two little small things that I dislike about the bike, and that's really it. I can't really think of anything else while riding the bike that I dislike. Mirrors are the same as the R1. They work really well. They're actually one of the stock mirrors that I really like on bikes that you could probably keep. I'm just finding myself just enjoying this amount of power. It's just fun. You can use the gears, use its actual power. And then I guess the only other bike in its class is the V2, really. And that's definitely a bike I want to test ride, so I can do a comparison between the two and give some feedback on that, and hopefully help some people out if they're trying to make the decision. The clutch is nice and light as well. Like I said, he's got the full acro, and like I was saying, with this part, I'm not sure why they couldn't just bring it out like the normal ones, but they're obviously the designers. Once you get used to it, it does look nice. New winglets. What's your opinion on the R9? Seen it? If you've seen it in person, if you haven't. It is a nice looking bike. I personally think I would have went with a black one, and probably done some sort of white and black, but the blue does look nice. I guess the question everyone's probably going to ask is, would I sell the R1 for the R9? That's a tough one. Truly, it's I think maybe if I didn't ride the R1, I possibly would have, because I was waiting for this to get released to buy it, and they said it wasn't getting released, so I ended up trying to get an R6. I couldn't get one, and then a really good deal come up on my R1, so that's how I ended up getting the R1. But there's just something about an R1, like there's not, I want to go into a proper video on it, but it's just a different feeling. Like you've got way too much power, but it's just a different feeling. I don't know if I'm quite ready to sell it, to buy something else. I keep saying I want to sell it, and then I think about it, and I think I'd really miss it. It's just one of those bikes that I think I would really, really miss. So right now, I'm going to say I'm going to keep the R1, but you never know what the future holds. because this is a very, very nice bike. Alright, that's going to wrap up the video. First ride on the brand new 2025 Yamaha R9. If you like this video, leave a like, comment and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I'll definitely answer them. Let me know your thoughts on the R9. Would you go on an R9 or a Ducati? And I really appreciate you sticking around if you made it to the end. Enjoy the CP3. Peace.